Spoiler alert, the following podcast includes discussions on film that may potentially, intentionally or inadvertently, reveal plot twists, character traits, story details, up to and including endings that might otherwise be considered spoilers. Proceed at your own risk.
You're listening to Moviesucktastic. The most gravitational pull. What do we do? We die.
It all sounds like some bad movie.
There you are. I thought I lost you.
No, that was a 2.5 minute trailer for the fucking movie. I tried to find the shortest trailer I could, and well, I couldn't. So
They didn't make short trailers in the 80s.
no, well, even back then it was 2.5 minutes, which is still a bit I'd like to try and get off the ground at some point. Judging a movie by the 2.5 minute trailer, then watching the movie and then seeing if we were right. I still like that idea.
I like that. Just not watching it.
Like, did you just watch the Death Wish trailer?
I did. Before we recorded tonight, somebody else, Steven, had messaged me. He said, "Hey, have you seen the Bruce Willis Death Wish trailer?" It's like, oh God, no, I forgot about that. He says, "Yeah, it sucks." Like, well, I'll have to watch it.
Now, I watched half of it, and I mean, I didn't hate what I saw, but what I felt I saw was too much. They give away so much in the trailers now.
All I'm going to say is, and I've read the book, watched the movie,
Right.
and we maybe I might be a bit more invested than some other people. I don't think it looks like a bad movie, but it's not Death Wish.
No, it doesn't feel like it either.
To an extent. I mean, the main problem I have with it is because they didn't do it in the book and they didn't do it in the first film. He didn't track down. He never killed Jeff Goldblum.
That's right. He never got them.
Yeah, he didn't actually track down. It was just a reaction towards that powerlessness of the time period. I mean, there's so much you could do with that now and do a straight, serious film, and all they're doing is Die Hard with a Death Wish. Which I'm fine with that. I'll watch it and I'll enjoy it, but it's not Death Wish. Now, I will say though, I understand why they might have decided to go that route. For Eli Roth doing this, it's a swing and a miss because he nailed it when he did that cannibal movie, The Green Inferno.
Oh, okay. A lot of people, I haven't seen it yet. A lot of people that I know that have seen it hated it.
A lot of people don't give it a chance and they don't pay attention. The film's smarter than you think it is.
Okay.
And also, if you don't have a background in cannibal films from the 70s, it's a little lost on you. You know?
It's funny that you should say that. Hey, I've seen plenty of these. I know an homage when I see one.
Yeah. And I think that's what kind of disappointing about this Eli Roth film is this feels like him aiming for the mainstream instead of, I would compare this to look at what they did with Death Sentence.
I was going to bring up Death Sentence, and
now here's the thing with that.
That doesn't feel like a Death Wish movie. It's not a Death Wish movie. It's the same author.
No, all right. Here's the thing. The second Death Wish book was called Death Sentence. It was a direct sequel to Death Wish.
Okay.
They took that and they did nothing with it. They made up their own complete story. Death Sentence was kind of a remake of Death Wish on the foundation of
Revenge.
On the foundation of the actual sequel book.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But what I think what Death Sentence does match to Death Wish is that dark feeling of hopelessness.
Oh yeah.
It's not a joyful vigilante film. This Death Wish remake is a joyful vigilante film.
I don't even remember even chuckling or laughing during the Death Sentence.
No.
I don't remember any scenes where I was like, oh, nothing.
Except he's gonna fuck him up. It's like there was no genuine humor, just kind of like that dark gallows humor.
Right.
So watch him do the funny dance.
The funny dance.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's a huge swing and a miss. But unfortunately, I don't think that's he wasn't aiming for Death Sentence. He's aiming for Die Hard with a Death Wish.
Got it.
And like I said, I'll watch it and I'll like it. But if you're gonna call it a Death Wish sequel, just call it something. Just call it the fucking Avenging Angel, and move on. They could honestly, if they didn't call it Death Wish, all people would say is, "Oh, it's reminiscent of Death Wish."
Right. But this episode, we're reviewing Wargames from 1983.
Right. We're talking about Wargames. Yes.
Two things I want to mention. Two things. One, I want to clarify. I had incorrectly stated last week that Matthew Broderick and Sarah Jessica Parker was in this film, and I want to clarify that I mistakenly said Sarah Jessica Parker when I meant Ali Sheedy. Sarah Jessica Parker is actually Matthew Broderick's real life wife. So
right, and with that considered, I think thermonuclear war is probably the better choice.
Yep. So
yeah, I was watching Wargames with Holly, and at one point goes, "Oh yeah, but now he's with Horseface." It's like, what do you mean? So he married that Sex and the City chick. So that he did.
Yeah.
So how come he did? It's like, how come he didn't know that? It's like, because I didn't want to know that. Because that saddens me. So and part of me is also like, yeah, that's why Matthew Broderick isn't like a lot of stuff anymore, because she sucked the joy out of his life.
Right. You know what? It's probably penance for killing people with his car. You knew that, right?
No.
He was in Ireland or something like that.
Yeah.
And he ended up. I think someone was on a bicycle or another car. I think it was another car actually, and he was put under the influence, but they can't prove it, or it was like some crazy shit where other people than him died.
Worst Ferris Bueller sequel ever.
Right.
That should be a great Ferris Bueller sequel.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Guantanamo Bay. Rikers Island.
Ferris Bueller's Day in Court. That's it. There you go. Written.
Welcome to the Rock.
Now it's funny, and it's funny too because before I watched this, I was just thinking about Wargames at work, and it dawned on me. And I don't know if I ever thought of it before, but it occurred to me it never occurred to me that in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, when he changes his grades.
Oh yeah, I noticed that today when I watched it.
It's like, oh, that was a direct homage to Wargames, and I totally missed it because I was enjoying Ferris Bueller too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And the second thing is, I want to apologize for even challenging this to you, because this is in no way a bad film.
Well, yes and no.
Well, there's too much that they do right, that they get right, and the writing is actually very good, and the acting is very good. That I did not have as many problems with this movie as I thought I was going to be.
I wouldn't say
thought I was going to. I mean,
there's a lot of stuff that's actually commendable about this film.
You know what I hate though? It's at the very beginning of the film where the two guys, the NORAD guys, they're coming in, and
oh yeah,
they're coming in and they go down into the bunker and all that, and they have this the launch codes. They find out later that it was just a test, but they have all these launch codes, and they're turning the key, they're punching in the codes, and they're building all this great tension, and the scene ends, and they go right into this shitty A-Team fucking music, and it literally ruins everything because there is no music in the rest of the film that's like that.
Yeah, except at the very end. Even then, it's not the same. You're right.
It's not the same. But they build up all this great tension and ruin it like 2 seconds later with that horrible music.
First thing that threw me off in the film is you have the guys going down into the bunker, and I'm just like,
I don't remember that scene, by the way.
Oh, I remember. Well, I remember that. Yeah,
I don't remember it.
And I'm like, well, the movie that scene starts. The first thing I say to Holly is, "Why don't you have a Pepsi?"
Why don't you have a Pepsi?
For those playing the home game, that's a reference to Spies Like Us. Anyway, the two guys are going down, and I'm like, that can't be Michael Madsen. I was like, that can't be Michael Madsen. Look at him. But every time he would talk, it's like, it's Michael Madsen. I had to look it up. It's like, holy shit, that's a young fucking Michael Madsen.
Is that Michael Madsen?
That's Michael Madsen. I'm telling you. I was like, that's how hard it is to tell, because I was like torn. I'm like, that can't be fucking Michael. But then he would talk. I was like, wait, that's Michael Madsen, except like he's all smooth and pretty. And I had to confirm it. I was like, yeah, man, that's fucking Michael Madsen.
Wow,
it's insane.
I did not notice that was him.
You know what I love about that being Michael Madsen? Now you know why Mr. Blonde's so fucked in the head.
Yeah, he had some launch codes that he was like, I'm ready to turn this fucking key. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Now, spoiler.
Sir, put your hand back on the key.
I hadn't watched this film in a long time.
Me neither.
I didn't remember them like kind of showing you later that he didn't actually shoot him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, later on they show him. He's like, oh.
A couple of scenes later where he's shaking his head side to side, saying they're replacing us with a goddamn computer. I mean, he doesn't say that, but the look in his eyes, his face says they're replacing us with a goddamn computer. Yeah. What a mistake.
Well, yeah, but then again, are you upset about that? Because just like last week, your partner shot you in the fucking head. Yeah. For all intents and purposes, your partner shot you. And then stole the first aid kit. What was that about?
Oh, man, I just shot Clarence in the face.
But when Michael Madsen leaves, he steals the first aid kit.
Well, right.
And no one says anything. Like, yeah, go ahead, take it. It's like, why are you taking it? He's the one you shot in the head. And also his part. What's his name? The actor, John Spencer. When they're going down, he's talking about, oh yeah, she puts her hands over the seeds. And I didn't even realize what he was saying. And then Holly's like, Scott, you know he's talking about pot, right? I say, what? He's talking about growing pot. And then like later on, he's like, yeah, it's the best Maui Wowie ever. I said, holy shit, they're talking about pot. Why is he talking about pot? So the opening was a lot of fun. Oh, and also the nuclear alert guy, when his voice when he said there has been a nuclear alert, I swear that was Casey Kasem.
Did you look it up?
I did. No, I'm pretty sure it wasn't Casey Kasem.
I did not see him in the.
He was like,
cast
and
list.
You don't want to open your launch codes to Alpha, Beta, Zeppa, Groucho.
No, it's really tough to come into these upbeat tempos with a goddamn dead dog dedication.
There were two times where the voices threw me off 100%. One was Casey Kasem alerting them that they need the launch codes to nuke somebody.
Right.
And then later in the third act of the film, where they're sending the pilots to find these planes and they're not there.
Oh, right.
The pilot, for some reason, is talking like he's on a sex chat line.
Yeah.
He says, well, no, Captain, there's nothing out here. I'm smooth as glass out here, and I'm not seeing a thing. It's like, what the fuck? Speaking of pot.
Right.
And that goes on for 2 or 3 lines, and he's like, "No, I'm telling you, Captain, there's nothing up here at all." I think he even goes, "It was that off."
You know,
like, am I watching Iron Eagle? What the fuck's happening? This is.
Well, I'm going through the cast list, and no, Casey Kasem isn't listed,
Right.
but William H. Macy is. He's one of the uncredited NORAD officers.
Yeah, and when I was watching it, I was like, all right, I put myself on William H. Macy alert, and I failed. I'm watching the film, and I did not see him.
Oh well.
But I'm gonna do a Google search while we're talking and see if I can find an image of it. Oh, that was him.
What?
That can't be him. I'm trying to find William H. Macy in the movie, and it's I can't tell because either he's too young to notice, and like he doesn't have the hair in Wargames, so it's weird. Now the other guy. Speaking of other well-known actors in the film, obviously you've got Dabney Coleman.
Yes.
Obviously. Then you got Barry Corbin, who plays General Behringer, who I'm pretty sure generals aren't allowed legally to be that Southern. I think they have a buffer where you're not supposed to sound like you're not supposed to sound like, God damn it, fucking honeymooners.
Honeymooners.
You
mean Jackie Gleason?
Jackie Gleason.
Ralph Cramden?
I think as a general, I don't think you're allowed to sound like Jackie Gleason from the toy.
I was. Okay.
In every other sentence, I'm like, it's U.S., not U.S. I just no, stop. But he's followed around by that actor that's been in every fucking film.
Oh yeah, the guy, and he's just mainly in the background in this, but he's typecast as that kind of guy every time.
Well, he was the waiter in. I know he was the waiter in. No, he was not the waiter. That was somebody else. But what's his name?
I don't remember.
The guy with the glasses. He's in every.
No, I know who you mean though. Let me see if I can find him.
I'm angry to pronounce it ahead of time.
Barry Corbin? No, that's the Southern guy.
That's the pig-eyed sack of shit.
Coen brother favorite. And you know what? Let me tell you something. By the end of the film, I'm on his side.
Well, that's why. The thing is, they build this like tension between Corbin and Coleman, and like it's so. It's I guess as a kid, it's a funny moment where it's like I've been assessing your situation. I'm really under the opinion that your program sucks. And it's like Dabney Coleman apparently takes sucks like as if I fucked your mother. He's like, I don't have to take that from you, you pig-eyed sack of shit. I'm like, whoa.
How is Dabney Coleman not fired?
But how is Barry Corbin like not burying his foot in his face?
Right, exactly.
It's like these military guys. Oh yeah, you want to call me a pig-eyed sack of shit? Oh no, I expected more from you.
You're thinking of he's the hotel manager in Ghostbusters.
That's exactly who I'm thinking about. Michael Ensign?
Yep.
Yeah, Michael Ensign. All right, yeah, it's you know what? Because all of his pictures on IMDb, he doesn't have his fucking glasses on.
Yeah, still working and still alive.
Yeah, he's in everything. But in this, like, Holly kept like, God, look at that guy behind him. So what? Pause it. He's like, he's in love with him. He's in love with it. Look at this. There's the one part where they first see the Whopper, and he's standing behind Corbin, and he's just staring at Corbin, and Corbin's like not even noticing him. He's like, look at him. Look at the longing in his eyes.
Oh my God.
It's like every scene with them, he'd be like, go find this for me. Yes, sir. It's like, I love you, sir. It's just go back, watch this again with that in mind. Every scene they're in, it's just the sexual tension between those two is undeniable.
Does that have to do with my movie challenge?
No.
Okay.
Oh, you mean him? No.
No, not him as an actor, like a direct connection. But there are some films where, like say the person in charge, he has someone that's under him who's in love with him and he doesn't know it. I can't think.
Iron Eagle.
Iron Eagle? No, that's not the film I'm thinking. But there's a couple of films that are on the tip of my tongue. I just don't remember what they are, but I very specifically remember that kind of sexual tension.
I think Barry Corbin and Michael Ensign had a much more romantic chemistry than Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it.
Yeah, you're right.
She's a bit of a slut in this film too. I'll say it. I'll be upfront with that.
Bit of a slut, huh?
I think I would call it just a little bit, just enough where she's like constantly egging on the nerdy kid. I don't know. There's something a bit off about that.
Well,
I don't know. The whole thing where she's in the bedroom with her, like trapping him between her legs. It's like, hey. Hey, they just invited you to barbecue. Stop wrapping your legs around his hot thighs, you fucking whore.
Well, he did give her an A.
Yeah, but
he wanted to put his D in her A.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
and something else bugged me. Again, there's a lot of 80s faces in this film. They really just everybody in here you recognize from something else.
Sure, there's a lot of recognizable faces.
Now, speaking of the opening of the film, Mr. Liggett, the teacher.
Yes.
Oh, that famous line that your mother, your wife.
You're right. It's like who came up with asexual production without sex? Your wife.
Your wife.
Your wife.
Alan Blumenfeld. Now, I looked through his credits. Not Alan Blum. Yeah, Alan Blumenfeld. I swear to God, he's in a film where he's yelling it like, "You can't do this! You can't!" I'm like confusing him with a different actor, and it was bugging the shit out of me. But he looks like this other guy. He's like, you can't do this. Like, all I see is him like sweating with the bald head, yelling at somebody, and he's wrong.
He's wrong. You're wrong.
But he looks like the kind of person that sweats bald and yells at somebody and being wrong.
Well, you have no hair to soak up any sweat, so.
Well, there's some hair. I mean, when I say bald, I mean on top, not shiny bald.
Usually where you sweat from the top.
Yeah, well, not everybody.
Not too much from the sides.
Now, Wargames. I mean, we've kind of glossed over what the film's about. Do we need to go through that? This is such an iconic film.
It is an iconic film. I think we do need to go through it very quickly. So, basically, you have this nerdy kid, underachiever, which comes up later because they said he fits the perfect description of someone that wants to try and hack into our system and cause a war or espionage, because he's very intelligent, super intelligent, but he's an underachiever. And what happens is there's this company that makes video games for your computer that he wants to play. So what he does...
Back then, they only had home video games for your computer.
Right. If you weren't going to the arcade...
That's not true. That's a fucking lie. I should shut up, Scott. Shut the fuck up and let Joey continue.
In 1983, there were game consoles and whatnot.
When he opens the magazine for that ad for the computer, it's like a classic Atari ad.
Right.
The whole family huddled around like a 5-inch screen. It's like like they didn't make that now, making fun of the 80s. They made it in the 80s.
Yeah.
Even in the 80s, they're like, man, we suck. Put that in there.
So
we sucked. The 80s sucked real time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Really weird. I mean, it's just like real time. Yeah, this is the shitty. 20 years from now, we'll be making fun of this by doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, I always loved video games, but I never thought visually that they were any good until about 15 years ago. That was when I thought, shit, what I can play at home is way better than what I can get in an arcade.
For me personally, it was around PlayStation.
Even PlayStation, I always felt the arcade had better graphics and was a better experience.
But they didn't. But like, PlayStation, they had stuff like Resident Evil, which at the time for me was like, wow, it's just like playing a movie.
PlayStation was the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's where I flipped over.
Yeah, it was the beginning, but I never thought. Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't think that PlayStation graphics or Sega Saturn, around that time frame, those graphics weren't any good. I just felt that as far as graphics go, and as far as like the fun factor, I still thought the arcade edged out home consoles. Even though I owned home consoles and I still had PlayStations and Dreamcast, not Dreamcast, the Sega Saturn and whatnot. It wasn't until, say, around Xbox, the original Xbox, that I thought, wow, this is This is amazing. This is way better than anything I can get in an arcade. And that's actually when arcades really started to die. They really started to die about 15, 16 years ago. No one was the malls got rid of their arcade. Remember, you used to go to the mall and there used to be a whole huge arcade? Gone. No need for it. And that was about 15 or 16 years ago when that really started to happen. So anyway, to get back to the plot, this company, I think it's called Provision or something like that. It's going to come up on the screen any second, unless I missed it. Oh, here it is. But he wants to play the games that they're going to be releasing, like in the next 2 or 3 months.
Right.
So he hacks into their system and gets a list of all these games, and he thinks he's just, childishly, harmlessly playing these games. It's Protovision. He's going to play these games for nothing, and he's just going to have fun doing it.
So he accidentally hacks into
NORAD, and he plays a game called Global Thermonuclear War. And what it turns out is that's the computer that they have, this supercomputer that comes up with all these different scenarios for thermonuclear war and who's going to win and who's going to lose and all these different scenarios as far as how many people are going to die, how bad the cities are going to get hit, and all that stuff. So he hacks into that and decides to play that game and starts essentially a countdown, time.
I think you're getting sidetracked with the bigger details. Basically, he interacts with an AI, an artificial intelligence, which the 80s was all about.
Sure.
Artificial intelligence that that is being used as a tactical, strategical machine at NORAD, and the artificial intelligence thinks he's the professor, his old creator. So when he decides to play the game, he starts playing it for real, and actually starts and trying to initiate World War III.
And the way that works is he goes and he visits a couple of computer geek hacker guys, and they basically give him a couple of hints that most good programmers will put in a back door to the program so that no matter what anyone does, they could get in if they had to make changes or fix it, if whoever they gave the program to fucks it up royally. So this guy Faulkner, or whatever.
Falcon.
I thought it was Faulkner, but
Falcon.
Anyway, he puts in a back door, which in turn turns out to be his dead son's name, Joshua. So, yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
He has a fucking dark line later in the film where he basically tells Ali Sheedy that if they survive this, that maybe she could grow up one day and have a kid and watch die.
Yeah. Well, he's a cheery guy.
Yeah, cheery.
Those scientists, those godless scientists, when they lose something, there's nothing else to look at except dinosaurs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
now,
he puts in this backdoor password, which Matthew Broderick figures out, which then starts off him talking to
that's how he gets in. Yeah.
Whopper and starts this global thermonuclear war game, which then Whopper or Joshua doesn't understand that it's, hey, I'm just having some fun. It's going through the whole thing.
Right. Well, it doesn't understand the difference between game and fantasy and reality.
Right. And it calls Matthew Broderick back.
Well, now you're getting into details. We were just looking for the general overview.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, one thing I give it is you touched on it with the whole thing where he researches to try to figure out the back door. One thing this film was actually very accurate on, which is a breakaway from our previous films about 80s computer technology.
Exactly.
Is that the film is actually very accurate on hacking techniques.
Launch codes, how that's done.
Not forget launch codes. What I'm saying is like the hackers. This is a hacking movie.
No, I get that, but I was just going more along the lines of its technology as a whole.
Right, but talking about the hacking aspect.
Okay.
For a change, people using computers, it was very realistic. The whole idea of tracking down, doing research on the developers of the game system going through garbage and finding stuff. This is stuff that real hackers did. And I also love the fact that the film also included phone hacking or phone phreaking, which at the time was just alongside of hacking as far as, like, you know, your underground technologies.
Sure.
That trick he does with the payphone,
right,
is real.
I tried that and I couldn't get it to work. So maybe I mentioned that in the last podcast where I thought I was going to have a lot of problems with this film with the computer technology and
me too,
the 80s and whatnot. And I said I tried that phone trick and it didn't work for me. But I also tried that in like 1995.
Right.
So that's probably why it didn't work.
Yeah, that was a true trick. In the shorthand version of that back in the day. Again, we're talking about early 80s. You know, right. Is you would take a paper clip and bend it up and stick one end in the hole of the receiver, and then touch the metal, and you'd make that connection, and you get a free phone call. After this film came out, so many people were doing this trick that the company started to they had to glue the receiver headsets
so you could unscrew.
Yeah, they had to glue them shut. That's how much that got around. That was a real thing. And I was like explaining to Catherine too. Said, yeah, Catherine, back then, my older stepdaughter. I was like, yeah, back then the big thing was the Captain Crunch whistle. Oh. Somebody figured out that the Captain Crunch whistle had like the same dial tone as to be able to access the phones, and you could get free calls just by having this whistle. You had blind people. There's this one blind hacker, I forget his name, but he had perfect pitch, and he could just whistle into a phone and get free long distance.
Wow!
Because it was all done through tones. You know, it was before the digital age.
Right.
And so, like, seeing this kind of like old school hacking stuff.
I actually didn't know about the Captain Crunch whistle.
Oh yeah, you know, if you ever want to like get an idea of what hacking was like before computers were so mainstream, phone phreaking with a PH phreaking.
Okay.
Fucking amazing! Like just the shit that was going down just with phones. I mean, it was like this whole underground movement against Ma Bell.
Wow.
Yeah. So in a lot of those respects, I just thought, even though it seems like such a wacky concept, the whole idea of artificial intelligence plummeting us to World War III because it wants to play a game, that's a bit far-fetched. But the way they handle a lot of the other technology on his end, at least, very accurate. So, I mean, that's a plus.
And considering that we've reviewed some pretty bad computer movies.
Now, one thing I do have a problem with, when he does hack into Joshua and they're playing global thermonuclear war, and they're watching the screen, and all it is like a little white outline and then some lines here and there and little stats, and they're like, oh wow, and they're drinking and eating pizza. This is great. Holly's looking at it, it's like, wait a minute, Oregon Trail had better graphics than this shit. You Have Died of Dysentery had better graphics than Destroying the World. What's going on here?
Well,
and I looked it up. That game's from the 70s.
That was, well, I think
Oregon Trail's from the 70s.
No, I know, but that falls in line to there was a style of game where it was just text. Was it called mushing?
Oh, text games.
No, I know, but there's a style. I think it's called mush or mushings, mush games or something, or mushing.
That's that porn with the beans. Ignore that.
Oh, is that what that is? I thought I could swear that there was a style of game where it was mostly text, where you create text and with other players and whatnot and scenarios, and then here let me look it up.
But you're talking about where you're playing with other people, not just a computer game.
Right.
So
well, no, I think you can do with just a computer.
Right, but that would be like the Infocom text-based games, like Zork.
Yeah, I guess so.
Zork had better graphics.
Choose your fate kind of stuff.
Yeah, Zork had better graphics than what they were playing.
Well, I can't seem to.
Yeah, don't Google mushing. You're not going to like the results.
Let's see. Oh, here it is. Mush. Multiplayer online game.
There's no bearing what we're talking about.
Yeah, I guess not. Well, I mean, it's a role-playing style of game, so it's mostly text-based. according to this.
You know, I need to double back too. The douchebag teacher at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
Holly pointed this out. He's giving an oral exam. He skips question number 3.
Oh, right.
I didn't even notice. Holly was like, wait, when does it happen to question 3? Why we had to rewind it? It's like, oh, shit. Yeah, what was question 3? He's a horrible teacher.
Horrible teacher.
Horrible teacher.
He gets distracted.
No wonder his students hate him.
Yeah.
Now, here's another question.
Yes.
For you. And this is one of the little things that bothered me in the film. And Holly actually was complaining about this too. Mm-hmm. During the dinner scene with his parents.
With the raw corn.
Yeah. Can you explain to me why the camera was so obsessed with how he was buttering his corn?
The only thing I can think of...
They show him butter his bread for a good minute and a half. Then they have close-up shots of him rolling it in the bread and butter. And she was like, what's the big fucking deal? He's buttering his corn.
The only thing I can think of... is it showed in some way that his father was... as best I can come up with, it's a term that is now used now, not then, but like a life hack. Like he's buttered his bread for the sole purpose of using it to butter his corn, and it's like, hey, I didn't get my hands dirty. It's evenly coated my corn. Look how great this life hack is.
It was bugging Holly because she was like, but now you wasted the bread. And I was like, well, he's going to eat the bread. So no, you don't know that. He just threw that to the side.
He did just throw it to the side.
Yeah, he was like, oh, no, I'm done with that bread.
That's what I essentially thought of when I saw that. It's like he sacrificed a slice of bread to butter his corn better.
Right. So,
I essentially thought, I was like, oh, that's kind of like his son does computer hacks and he does life hacks.
You know what? that if that was what they were going for, you don't need 2 minutes for that.
No, you don't.
And you definitely don't need 2 minutes to set up a raw corn joke. Raw corn is raw corn. You don't need to butter it to know it's raw. Actually, the fact that that butter's melting on it even makes less sense as to how it's raw corn.
Well, it was probably like fucking like margarine or country crock or something.
There would have been chunks of it all over that if it wasn't melted. Yeah, that whole corn.
No, didn't they get it from like a tub, like country crock? That shit's soft, 24/7, even in the refrigerator.
Yeah, but it doesn't disappear when you put it on corn. He should have had butter on his lips, and I think the whole corn was a flawed endeavor by the filmmakers. I don't know.
I think they were showing how, in some way, he got his hacking skills from, like his father being inventive about how he butters his corn.
This isn't like when we first meet Data's father. Okay, I think it's a totally. I don't know if I buy that.
You are my greatest invention.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Hey.
Yeah,
I agree with that, but that's the only thing. If you want an analysis or a reasoning for it, that's the best I can come up with.
And it also bothered me that Matthew Broderick's father answers the door, and his geeky son waiting for him is this hot jogging chick who's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go in there now," and he doesn't even look up from his crossword.
Maybe he's a broken man.
I'm immediately thinking this is American Beauty, like 20 years too soon. What the? Come on.
No,
my son's out right now. But would you like to talk?
I think he's a broken man.
Broken how? I just
broken.
I wanted more of a reaction from him. That's all. Maybe I'm the worst person because of that. But still, even I could have even done with a. You want my son? Yeah.
You want that geeky piece of shit upstairs? The one that brings me home nothing but D's and F's?
Yeah, really? If
he thinks I'm going to waste money on college, he can go fuck himself.
And you maybe? Forget the fact they're both in their 20s at that point. Well, I mean, Matthew Broderick was 20. Ali Sheedy, I didn't double check. Yeah, she was 22. They're both 20 in real life.
Were they really that old?
Yeah. Ali Sheedy was born in 62. Matthew Broderick was born in around the same time.
Wow.
62, yeah.
It's
So
interesting.
maybe when the project.
They get away with it because even when Matthew Broderick did Ferris Bueller's Day Off in '86, that would put him at like 23, almost 24. He could still pull it off. So.
She even says how old she is at one part near the end of the film. I forget how old she said.
She's 17. She said
17. Okay, yeah, bullshit.
I'm 17. I don't want to die. And the only thing I can think of is like there's like a 7-year-old that doesn't want to die either. Making it about you.
Joshua didn't want to die, bitch.
I want to go to Paris. Sure. Oh, you know what else I noticed? That the trip to Paris was $1,200 in 1983. It's like, holy fuck. I think I can go to Paris for less than that now.
Holly's reading the wrong line. It's like, only $170? It's like, no. Oh, go to the left. Go to the left. That's the total. You're looking like the drink charge. Keep going.
Right. It was $1,200. Well, although it was like $600, $25 per ticket round trip.
I'm assuming it wasn't the Concorde.
Right. It might have been first class. I didn't actually look that hard, but it was $1,200 for 2 tickets to Paris, and I think if you do it right, I think it only costs only a few $100s more for 2 tickets to Paris.
I'm not even going to guess on that.
Oh, it's actually on the screen now. Oh, no. Never mind. They already did the Paris thing. He's talking to Joshua in a second. Or he's going to try to before he fails, and then has to try and...
The one thing you really have to give this film credit for from the 80s, and this is true of films that really stuck with us.
No, he gets in.
It's... What?
No. He actually is getting in at this point. Go ahead. I'm sorry. It fails. Go.
Is that certain films... I mean, you did have talented filmmakers making this. I wouldn't call this a great film. It's not an Oscar film.
No,
but
it was nominated for 3 Oscars, though.
Probably technical shit.
Maybe. Let me look.
But one thing the film has is it has very memorable moments.
Yes, it does.
Frame-wise, long shots, medium shots, shots of characters. One image that's always stuck in my head ever since I saw this film as a child is when they're trying to convince him to not launch the nukes back, and they go to do a shot of Matthew Broderick with his hand, like praying with his hand on his chin.
Yes.
And that there's just a perfect shot, and then like the long shots of just the giant, the room, the war room, so to speak, with all the screens. Even like the shot of like Matthew Broderick at the phone booth after the logger drops him off.
Well, with that, the 3 Oscar nominations are Best Sound, which I can give it that. Like even at the end of the film, where it's simulating the bombs hitting, that slight little buzz noise, it had my subwoofer kicking, and it really worked.
You know, it had my subwoofer kicking.
What's that?
No, it's smooth as glass out here, Captain.
Well, I like the woman that was counting down to our doom. 1 minute to go. To 1 minute to what was the term? 1 minute to not touchdown, but
I forget.
Basically, what she was saying is it's a minute until bombs explode.
Right. Now, speaking of her,
but anyway, the other 2 nominations are cinematography. So you're right with all of these scenes where you're saying they're memorable and it's well done. It got nominated for cinematography.
It's blocked out perfectly. Every shot you can tell has been storyboarded with full intention of what it's trying to do. Even the boardroom scenes of Dabney Coleman and fucking
Corbin
Pig Eyes. Sitting at opposite ends of the table and everybody arguing about shit, and then
sure.
And then James Token comes out of nowhere. He's a slacker.
Oh, that guy. He's a slacker. Did that guy ever have hair? And
Apparently not.
The last Oscar nomination was for Best Screenplay.
Uh-huh.
So those were the 3. So yeah, 2 of them were technical, but these are actually 3 really good Oscars for sound, cinematography, which can help a film tremendously, and then of course an important one in screenplay.
I think cinematography makes this film. I think I don't think the subject matter is anything.
Yeah, the war room is awesome.
wacky. I think it's not beautiful, but it's done with precision. And like when you look at other 80s films, you really have to respect that, the director really knew what he was doing.
Yeah, this could have really fallen into that pile of 80s shit that nearly all 80s films kind of fall into. I mean, you have a good couple of handfuls of movies that really stand out. This could be one of them. Like you said, it's not a great film, but it's a good film.
And it's weird too, because if you compare, like, as far as direction, if you compare Wargames to Blue Thunder, which he directed the same year.
Oh, right. Is that the one with Daniel Stern? Helicopter movie?
Is Daniel Stern?
Blue Thunder.
Roy Scheider.
Daniel Stern was in that too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, but he wasn't the main character.
I don't.
Oh no, he was the sidekick. Okay, yeah, no, he was the sidekick. Yeah.
I remember Daniel Stern more than Roy.
Spoiler alert.
Well, they should have just called him Goose. But that's a helicopter movie, right?
No, that's a helicopter movie. That's the one with
Yeah.
That's the helicopter film.
Helicopter movie.
Besides Airwolf.
Fucking Airwolf.
No, Airwolf wasn't a helicopter. The TV show was. I'm thinking of Firefox. Firefox was.
With Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood in the plane.
Yes, Firefox.
It's weird. Like I just don't know. I don't know if I'm like looking at the films that he directed in this time period. I mean, also Short Circuit. Yeah, Stakeout, Bird on a Wire. I don't.
These are all memorable films.
Well, I don't know if any of them really had that. They don't like. For some reason, Wargames just stands out in my mind. That like every other shot is almost like it's like every other shot could be a part of the trading card set.
Right. You're right. He did not do another film with the popular. Well, he did Saturday Night Fever, but he did that a few years earlier. But other than, say, Saturday Night Fever and Wargames, those are his two movies. Those are the most, and they're part of cinematic history, specifically Saturday Night Fever.
Well, what I'm saying is Wargames feels very polished.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely because he had done TV, movies, and television for almost a decade.
Very clear-cut, very... It doesn't have the same feel as like a lot of his other films. I don't think.
No, you could tell
it could just be me.
No. You're right. You could tell that there's something different about Wargames, and I don't want to say that he did it all himself. He probably had some really great help, some really good people working with him to make this movie. You think Spielberg directed it instead, don't you? Ah, yes. Now you're getting to it. No.
I know.
No, but I'm sure he had a lot of great people working with him where, a movie, for a lot of it, is a group effort. As far as the assistant directors and the writers and the cinematographer really probably helped him throughout this film to put it in the right way. He knew what he wanted, but he had a great supporting cast to help out too.
Speaking of sexual tension.
Yo, sure.
I mentioned the whole thing with Michael Ensign and Barry Corbin.
Barry Corbin.
Let's now, and then we have the sexy pilot's voice.
Yes.
Don't forget one of the creepiest scenes of the entire film: mustachioed airman sexually harassing nurse.
Do you want me to leave? Yes, I do. Well, I'm not gonna, because I have to stay around here and watch
those long silences while they show Matthew Broderick.
He starts off good.
Oh, I don't know about good. He starts off like not actionable by HR.
Right.
We'll put it that way. But when, in between, like when those long silences with Matthew Broderick's like playing with stuff in the drawers, you just want to have the voiceover continue. You like my nightstick? Go on, touch it. I know you want to touch it. Go on.
Just the tip.
and then
but
later
he has her laughing at the beginning of that.
At the beginning, yeah, and then she's like, "Yeah, go away."
Now
and
you're
I swear to God, when she's telling him how the computer works, it's only from the side. I swear that's a picture of the Death Star on that screen. I don't know what they're doing, but the nurse shouldn't be involved.
No. Probably not.
Couple other things about this whole scene with the nurse. He's in Matthew Broderick's in the doctor's office, and he finds that tape recorder.
Right.
And then he plays it. It's like, the dilation of pupils consistent with pot abuse, possibly PCP. I swear to God, that was John Spencer from the beginning of the film. Has to have been. Who else would be getting a psych evaluation or anything like that? That's like, oh, maybe the guy who like almost got shot in the head? So there's something to think about.
Yeah.
Now, then, keep in mind that
Right.
mustachioed airman is, just trying to rape the nurse in the other room. Then you have the 3 guys coming up to get Matthew Broderick. The 4 of them. The third one in line sprays his mouth with breath freshener.
Oh, with air. Yeah. Oh, not air. Yeah, the mouth. Yeah.
Breath freshener, mouth spray, whatever. It's like, what the fuck? They're going for the nurse.
They're all.
It's like, yeah. While you guys get him, I got dibs on the nurse too.
Yeah.
Like they're lining up to harass this poor woman.
Gang bang.
Yeah. The only other woman of note in the film is Dabney Coleman's assistant or whatever she is. I don't know, assistant. I mean,
Right, and I think they're fucking on the side.
Oh no, he's banging the shit out of her. You know how you know?
Because she chewed his gum.
She takes his fucking gum. That's it. The minute that happened, it's like, Dabney's nailing that. There's no fucking way.
And that seems like it's part of a side story that they probably cut. It ended up on the cutting room floor.
It has to, because then later, when Falcon comes in, the second thing he says to Dabney is that, I see your wife's still picking out your ties, or something of that nature.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you married son of a bitch. You motherfucker. Really?
Yeah, because he's like, here, hold this, and he puts his gum in her hand. She throws it right in her mouth.
Yeah.
Who does that unless you're swapping spit?
Yeah. That's not. I've heard worse in my mouth. There's a lot of side stories in this film that need to be pursued. Again, I think once they decide to get rid of humans and use the computers, and they show Michael Madsen stealing the med kit and they walk out, I just want to follow those 2 guys for the next 4 hours.
Right. You want to see that side story.
Yeah. Say, will the friendship last?
Watch. Michael Madsen becomes Mr. Blonde out of that side story.
Exactly. Most awkward carpool ever.
So I'm sorry I almost shot you in the face.
Yeah, and then I want to see Dabney Coleman. I want to see them somehow cross this movie with 9 to 5.
9 to 5.
That's all I can think of when I see Dabney Coleman in the film is 9 to 5. I'm sorry, it's like the film that when I grew up, that's the film that had defined him in my head.
There's a couple of films that I think of from the 80s, Dabney Coleman, and one is 9 to 5, the other is Modern Problems, and the other one is Cloak and Dagger. Those are like my 3 big Dabney Coleman films. He looks exactly the same in all 3.
But like my mind always goes to the character in 9 to 5 because it's such a strong character.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's just it's like you see Matthew Broderick, you don't think Wargames, you think Ferris Bueller.
Exactly.
I honestly think that's the first thing you think of is Ferris Bueller. Everything else is kind of like, oh, he was this. That's the personality you kind of cling to.
Yeah. I just added Project X to my collection recently. I was like, oh yeah,
I saw that.
Like, oh yeah, he did this a year after Ferris Bueller. What happened?
Yeah, he smokes in that. I can't watch that.
He smokes in that.
Something about watching Matthew Broderick smoke just irritates the living shit out of me.
Irritates you?
I don't even know why, but just that whole film, killing monkeys, okay, but when he smokes them, like, and then he gives the cigarettes to the monkeys.
Yeah,
the bastard. So you know what it was? It was like them purposely trying to make him older. It's like, what'll make this kid older? I don't know. Make him smoke.
Yeah,
because
he looked like he was 20 years old up until like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, and I gotta. What year was Project X compared to the war film?
The war film? What war movie? He was in a war movie?
Yes, he was in a war. Yeah, he was in a war movie.
Oh, you're thinking of Biloxi Blues?
That's a war movie.
I guess it kind of is.
It kind of is along the lines.
I think Biloxi Blues was 88 or 89.
Same, yeah, almost only a year apart. And so, like in Biloxi Blues, they're making him like he's a 15-year-old.
Oh, you know what? He was in Glory. I think that's the war movie you're thinking of, actually.
No.
You were thinking of Biloxi Blues?
I was thinking of Biloxi Blues. Yes.
Okay, so he did Biloxi Blues in '88. He did Glory in '89.
Right. So I mean, so in '87, it's like, yeah, he's this tough guy and he's older, so he's smoking cigarettes. Then we got a Biloxi Blues. Now he's like this young guy again. And then we go to Glory. It's like, no, I'm gonna run the Confederacy. It's like, yeah, they can't. It's the only way they can make him older is either slap a beard on him or make him smoke. And both of them don't work for me. I don't like him in Glory either at all.
Right.
He does have a beard. No, he has a mustache. A little
In
thing.
Glory?
Yeah.
He's got like one of those curled up, like you twist wax on the end kind of mustaches.
Yeah, they threw facial hair on Matthew. Facial hair doesn't work on Matthew Broderick.
Moustache.
Facial hair, cigarettes, no go. That's a deal breaker for Matthew Broderick.
It's a deal breaker.
It is. Even like now. I mean, if you see him in a film now, it's like, yeah, he better be clean shaven and not smoking. Otherwise, I can't fucking deal with it.
Exactly. Okay.
That's it. And I think it's the only film I ever remember him smoking in is Project X.
Yeah, not even in Welcome to Wellville. That's the Kellogg's movie with Anthony Hopkins. I don't think he had a beard in that, but I don't remember him smoking in it.
You know what it is? It's like Johnny Be Good. Project X is Johnny Be Good. Project X is I'm gonna stop playing goofy kids now, and I'm gonna play a serious role.
Right. Well, he tried to do that the year before with Out of Bounds. Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah.
He did a film the year before called Out of Bounds, where it was like he was like a kid on the run, but he was like.
But he was still. Yeah,
it was serious. It wasn't very. It wasn't funny or anything.
But he wasn't trying to. But like Johnny Be Good was him trying to break out of that entire like persona.
No, I know what you mean. It's like because obviously he grew up. He was, he was a teenager or early 20s, and then when he did Edward Scissorhands, he just kind of fell off the face of the earth. Until he did the Dead Zone TV show.
Yeah, because everybody's like, yeah, he's even worse than this than he was in Johnny Be Good.
And now, he's almost unrecognizable now. He's more
good.
blonde than ever.
He's good now. I like him now. I like him.
No. He's fine. He's actually always been fine. But now, he's either gray, like his hair is going white, and because it's blonde, it looks like it's almost... It's like when the light hits it. He doesn't look like he has eyebrows anymore. His hair has gotten so light, and he's so fair-skinned.
Mm. Well, it's a weird thing too. Is like you take somebody like that who grows up playing this geeky, goofy kid in all these films, and it's like, yeah, but now I'm older, and I'm gonna get beefed up, and I'm gonna be the handsome built kid, and then he does it, and they're like, yeah, there's a dozen of you guys everywhere. What the fuck? Who hears about this shit? And that's why it falls apart. By the time he does Edward Scissorhands, all he's doing is playing Johnny Be Good gone bad, and it's like I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even when we get stabbed, it was like, oh, okay, we're done with this character now. And, spoiler alert.
Yeah. So well, moving on with the plot of the film.
Oh, what? There's more plot?
Well, they finally trace Matthew Broderick, and they track him down, and they pick him up, they take him to NORAD, and they ask him a whole bunch of questions, and he's telling them the truth, but they don't want to believe him because, to be honest, it does sound kind of crazy. Hey, this computer's calling me and it's wanting to play this game. And they're like, no, you're working with somebody. So he escapes and tries to go visit Faulkner or Falcon.
Falcon. F-A-L-K-E-N.
Falcon.
Ian. Falcon.
That's what I like to do. I like to get Falcon.
All right.
What?
Now,
you don't like Chip Chipperson?
Consider this.
Anyway, he meets up with him and convinces him to come back to NORAD to try and help out. Falcon.
Think about this, and this is something that's kind of unique for a film.
Yeah.
There are no bad guys in this movie.
No. I mean, except for the Russians, but it's a game, so it's not actually happening.
We don't talk to the Russians. The Russians aren't even involved in this film.
He's playing the Russians,
which means there's no Russians in the film.
No. That's what I'm getting at. It's like he said when he's playing Global Thermonuclear War, who do you want to be, the United States or you want to be the Russians? And he picks the Russians because it's always cool to be the bad guy when it's, a game. So there are no bad guys except for the the verbal, well, we know the Russians are bad. It's fake. Nothing's happening. There are no enemies.
All right,
but it's like this fake war with a known enemy. That's as close as you get.
Aside from the two sides fighting the nuclear war,
right?
I'm talking about even like characters. There are no bad guys.
Right.
There are no. I mean, you have assholes like Slacker guy,
right?
And I mean Dabney Coleman.
I think Dabney Coleman's a bigger asshole than Barry Corbin, in my opinion.
I don't think either of them are really assholes. They're both trying to solve problems. They're both trying to do the right thing. Neither of them does anything that's necessarily evil or nefarious. They're actually all trying to avoid war. It's really none of them. They're not trying to save their careers. They're not trying to do this. They're all just actually trying to do something. Even the people that are going after Matthew Broderick are doing so because they think he's trying to start a war. So Matthew Broderick's on the run to try to, to clear his name. The only real bad guy in the entire film is the teacher. I really think he's the only one you can say, yeah, that guy's a douche. I've got a present for you. Holds the paper up with the after. See, there's no call for that. You're an asshole. The only thing this film needed was
you don't know. He could be a broken man too. Like Matthew Broderick could have put him through so much shit that year.
No, he's an asshole. This should have had this film should have had a Ferris Bueller ending after the credits, where the Secret Service van rolls up to the school while he's outside, and like 4 agents get out and just kick the shit out of him.
I fast forwarded to the end of the credits because I was like, nah, they probably don't have anything after this, but I checked anyway.
That's the ending this should have had. I also like at the end where Dabney Coleman tussles Matthew Broderick's hair, and I'm like, yeah, you're still going to jail for 30 years. You're still going to jail.
Or it could be like, when are you 18? You want a job? Could be one of those. Do you know how many hackers the U.S. government has hired? All these hackers that do all these amazing hacks into our government and whatnot. When they get caught, most of the time the government offers them a job, and most of the time these guys take it.
If I remade this film, the end would be Falcon and the kids each get a bullet in the back of the head. They bury him in the fucking giant Whopper case when they get rid of that.
Giant Whopper. The only thing I kept thinking, I was like, do I want a Whopper for lunch today?
I don't know. First of all, I don't know why Burger King didn't jump on that. I guess they thought nuclear war wasn't a good way to sell food to kids. And imagine how different the film would have been if they'd called it Big Mac.
Big Mac. They probably would have. Hey, you know what? I wouldn't. Nowadays, it'd be called Big Mac. Fucking ridiculous shit that they decide to make now. Sometimes.
I think they should remake Wargames.
I think Wargames could be remade.
Here's my idea for it. They do send Matthew Broderick to jail.
Okay.
He gets out like 20, 30 years later, and he gets up with the anonymous people and other hackers, and they decide to try to bring the system down and actually start World War III for real.
I mean, here's the problem I have with that.
And you call it a sequel War Games for real.
The problem I have with that is something like computer hacking and computers in general. If he doesn't have constant access to computers and technology, I don't see him being that productive of a hacker 20 or 30 years later.
Well, no, that's why you get the 80s montage and he gets up to speed.
I just don't see it. It's like he gets half an hour of computer time. I don't think that's enough to keep up with hacking 20, 30 years down the line.
It'd be a cross between Mr. Robot and Ferris Bueller. I think it'll work.
He's just so good that he can grasp it no matter what the fucking era is.
I say you and I bang out a script this weekend. We'll shoot it out there.
This weekend, he says. Sure, why not?
But I mean, you're right. It's not a bad film.
No, it's not. I did enjoy it. I remembered enjoying it when I was a kid. I probably haven't seen this movie in 25 years.
But you know what? You know what?
And I
Wargames is?
still liked it.
I would compare Wargames to Transformers.
You mean the
Bear
one
with me.
the one now?
Yeah,
the one that came out in 07? Okay.
Yeah, because the time it was a big film. It was meant for like as a family film, even though there's like adult concepts and everything. And it doesn't really need to be taken seriously, even though there's serious themes.
Okay.
I mean, the 80s is a lot different than now. You know, there's Innocence Lost. There's new areas to go
I mean,
to.
in the 80s, I mean, what they were really touching on with this is basically the Cold War.
Well, it was, yeah, in fact...
You know, that's why they had that one little quick shot of Reagan. It was just like, okay, we get it.
Our generation grew up when we were kids in school with the concept, the constant concept that, yeah, World War III could happen tomorrow.
Right, and now we're so muted to that. We're so numb to it. When it happens, we're not even going to know it.
Well, it's become kind of a misnomer now. After 20 years of it, you're like, yeah, odds are it's not going to happen.
Right. Something that I always said as a kid. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, go ahead.
Something that I always said as a kid, and I'm surprised I said it as a kid because it's kind of too adult, that there's no money made in the end of the world. There's no money in it. Everyone wants to make money. If you you destroy the world, if there's nothing left, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you want to avoid it at all costs? And I think that's why we're at this point now where it's like, yeah, it's not going to happen. If it does, it's probably going to be by a fucking accident. That's
the theme of the film, obviously.
Right.
It's also the big lie behind the amassing nuclear weapons is the whole idea of assured mutual destruction, assured destruction plan. Which ironically, the anagram for that is MAD. But I mean, what I kind of to understand fully how Wargames works in the 80s, you got to think that there's two generations. There's a generation now that's like, okay, yeah, there's nuclear weapons everywhere. You can blow up the world 10 times. It doesn't seem like it's going to a possibility. You go before our generation, you've got duck and cover where, oh yeah, they have bad weapons, but if you just like get under your desk, you'll be okay. And then you had us where all pretenses were dropped in the 80s, and it was kind of like, yeah, you could die tomorrow.
Sure, that's why movies like The Day After Tomorrow were made.
The Day After.
The Day After.
I make the same mistake. That fucking Day After Tomorrow movie had to come out and just fuck it up. So you keep saying that. No, it's like no. The one with Jeff Goldblum. No, I mean not Jeff Goldblum. Steve Guttenberg.
Steve Guttenberg, yeah.
Or Steve Guttenberg.
What's his face?
It's my favorite Steve Guttenberg film because he dies slowly from radiation poisoning. So it's the best one.
Who was the other actor? Big actor.
There's a bunch of them. You're thinking of
what's his name? He was in Once Upon a Time in the West, and fuck, he was a huge actor.
Max von Sydow?
No.
There's only 40 actors in that film, so I don't know which one you're talking about.
Well, the one that I always remember, Jason Robards.
Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Yes, and he was in the Once Upon a Time in the West, and he was in Parenthood and all that. You know, he was a huge actor, made a ton of movies.
Yeah, you're naming all the bad ones. Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Yeah, well, those are the ones I like. Why do we not have a podcast about this? Is there not a reason why we do this? Because we watch the bad stuff, and that's the ones we enjoy the most. But Jason Robards, I always remembered him being in The Day After.
As the doctor. Yeah, yes. You're right. They're like the two big ones.
Yep. So have we kind of said our piece?
I kind of guess. Yeah.
Really to add? I don't think I really have anything else to add.
No, I mean,
well, you know what I always like to do is I always like to talk about the budget and how much it made. It cost $12 million. It made $80 million domestically. It doesn't have a foreign total because I don't think we really did that. There was not really a market for it back then. But it made $80 million. It's a lot of money.
Look back, and it was a simpler time, Joey.
Yeah.
When you could have a film like this, where the biggest special effects were big screens and graphics that Oregon Trail blows away, and that could be your big summer blockbuster. Was it a summer film?
Yes.
Yeah.
June 3rd. June 3rd it came out.
And now you come to now. And the only way you're getting noticed is if it's a $300 million film, robots are killing dinosaurs, and it's...
Speaking of which, the last Transformers film is doing horribly in America.
I'm shocked.
It cost $200 and something million, and I think it's only made 120 here in the U.S.
What could possibly be the reason for that?
Well, it's the fifth one, and no one gives a shit anymore. And I hear they're going to reboot the franchise. It's like, how are you going to reboot a reboot? I mean, they've done it before, but what are they going to do that's so different?
All I know is I'm just waiting for the next Saw film.
Oh, yeah, Jigsaw.
I'm so giddy about that.
Oh, yeah. We got to figure out what we're doing, if we're going to do midnight or if we're just going to do like a regular night.
We're doing something. Whatever it is, we're making it special.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
looking forward to it.
We thought 7 was the end of our ritual, but now we have a whole new one.
Yeah, and this is probably going to spawn off probably another 5-7 movies.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Okay,
rating.
So, currently 7.1 on IMDb. I am totally fine with giving this a 7.
No, it's not a great film. I mean, if you broke it down, it is there's not much new to it. It's by the books. It's by the books. It's good storytelling.
It's better than a 6 to me, though.
Compared to the other 80s films, I think it's an easy 7. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'll go 7 with you. I can't argue. Like I spent enough time defending the cinematography of it. And I would really like to find William H. Macy in that war room setting.
Oh, anytime they're in NORAD, you just got to look for them.
Yeah, apparently. So yeah, 75,000 votes on YouTube, IMDb.
YouTube, yeah.
It's not even worth looking at. The demographics, everyone thinks the film's 7.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's literally 7 right down the line.
Yeah, I mean, averaging.
Highest score is 7.6 from females under 18.
Because Matthew Broderick is because it's Matthew Broderick and not Chris Evans.
And the second highest, and the second highest is a 7.4 females aged 45 and up, also Matthew Broderick. They grew up when this film came. They were the same age as Matthew Broderick, or actually in their teens, or mid-teens. Thinking, Matthew Broderick, how dreamy he was.
And they're over 45, so they haven't heard of Chris Evans.
No, they have. Trust me.
Yeah, they have. You're right. Sorry.
That's what they've named their friend. Oh, Chris Evans, let's go.
All right. So my challenge to you, sir.
Okay, so can I make some guesses?
Right off the bat? Okay, go ahead.
Oh, do you want to give me a hint then?
What I was gonna say is I'm gonna break a little bit away from. I'm keeping it in the same ballpark.
Okay.
I was originally like, yeah, I'm gonna give them Hackers or something like this because I really want to stay with computers in the 80s, although Hackers was a 90s film. But I was like, let's take a step back. The hint I will give you is that there is a connection to theme-wise, but I won't get into it 100%. But This is a film that we have mentioned in the past. This is one of those. It's about time we reviewed it. Movies.
It's about time we reviewed it. Okay.
Yeah, this is one of those films. Like, the minute I tell you, be like, yeah, it's about time we reviewed that.
Is that my only hint?
No, no. Oh. Well, that's your first hint. There's one other one, and then I'll tell you.
Okay.
There's still a connection. All right, I'll tell you. I'm not going with computer hacking.
Okay.
But I am sticking with the idea of video games.
Video games.
And we are still in the 80s. We are firm in the 80s.
Oh, shit. It's got to be Tron.
That was initially what I was going to challenge you to.
It's not
Tron. I was really excited about it. But then Holly pulled this out of her ass, and I was like, well, shit, that's a much better idea.
So if it's not Tron, and it's video games...
Don't get too caught up in the video game aspect.
It's not Midnight Madness, is it?
No, it's not Midnight Madness.
Because there's that whole scene with the video games in Midnight Madness.
Yeah, I don't think I'm up for doing Midnight Madness.
And it's 80s. Fuck, what
It's also a summer release.
Okay. Oh. I feel... Like I can see it in my head, but I'm drawing a blank.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, no, video games. Ugh. First thing that came to my mind was obviously Tron.
And again, that was going to be your challenge, but then Holly came out of left field, and I was like, holy shit, much better idea. She gets full credit for this challenge.
Why the fuck can I not think of it? I'm seeing it in my head. I mean, there's an arcade involved in one of these scenes, right?
Yeah, and I think the main reason that she came up with this idea was because I don't think she wants to watch Tron again with me. So, I don't blame her, but
oh man, yeah, I can't think of it. Can I get an actor? Can I get an actor? Because if I don't get it after an actor, then I'm just I don't know.
I really feel like the actor's going to give it to you, though. I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you. What's his name? I don't want to give you him. Robert Preston is in it.
Robert Preston?
Yeah, the Music Man is in this.
The Music Man?
Robert Preston. He played the Music Man in the movie, The Music Man.
No, I don't. Robert Preston doesn't do anything for me.
I'm pretty sure Robert Preston played the Music Man.
I don't care. The Music Man. Once you tell me the title, the Music Man it'll all come flooding back. But the Music Man ain't doing shit for me.
That was bugging me, and I don't want to make sure he was in the Music Man because I don't want to have. Yeah, he was the Music Man. He played Harold Hill in the Music Man. All right, I'll give you one more actor name: Lance Guest.
Lance Guest. I can't see his face.
Yeah, no, and I don't blame you for that. All right, I'm going to give it to you.
All right, what is it?
The Last Starfighter.
Oh, oh, fuck. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. Let me. Yeah, it is about time. And let me tell you something. I was just thinking of that film because somebody there's like a remastered edition of it. And I wanted to see if it was better than the copy I already have. Oh. And what was funny about this, with as far as video games go, because they were doing arcade stuff, I was thinking of The Last Starfighter when I watched this because of that scene of Matthew Broderick in the arcade, and he's playing like Galaga and all that. And then I was thinking, exactly. In The Last Starfighter, he's playing this game where the graphics in the game were 10 times better than anything that was in any arcade in that time period. Uh-huh. And the reason for that is because, and I'll save most of this for when we do the review, they were using craze machines to do the special effects in The Last Starfighter. And it was a big deal because there's a little featurette that's on the DVD, the special edition DVD and the Blu-ray, where it's like a 20-30 minute featurette where they show these craze machines and they show like the special effects they were doing at the time with the ball and morphing and like spinning on its axis and all that shit. On the axis and all that. And I was just thinking, I was like, I did think of The Last Starfighter when I was watching this movie. I did not think that it would be a challenge. The movies that I was thinking that could be a challenge were movies like
I had my heart set on Tron.
You had
I really did. Until Holly said, "Yeah, no, do that shit with the space guy." It's like the what? Guy. Do that thing with the space guy, and he takes him up, and the one. He's the something or other. He's like the next. He's the next one, or he's the last. I was like, the Last Starfighter. That's the one. She nailed it.
I love that movie growing up as a kid too. I have not seen that movie in a really long time.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to hold up well.
No, I know it's not going to hold up well because I've watched bits and pieces of The Last Starfighter not that long ago, and I'll tell you what really doesn't hold up are the special effects.
Well, you know what the
funny
thing is?
They are so computer generated and so bad.
I remember watching this on cable like 5 years after it came out, and thinking, wow, these graphics suck. We're talking 5 years.
Yeah, like what, 85, 89? When did that come out? 84?
84.
84, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And think about what they were doing just like a year later. Like in 1990, Total Recall came out. If you just think of the special effects that they were putting in films as early as, say, 5 years earlier, pretty huge difference. And then a year after Total Recall, when they did Terminator 2, that just like broke the mold as far as what they're doing now is because of what they did in Terminator 2.
Yeah, and T2 was one of those groundbreaking. Oh yeah, look at this shit. It melts.
Yeah,
what?
$100 million. Yeah, liquid metal. $100 million or $110 million is what the movie cost, and you could see that they spent a lot of money making that movie. Special effects even now don't hold up that well, but it still holds up enough that you can enjoy the film.
You know, I think the practical effects in T2 hold up more than the special effects do.
Definitely.
I think like the stunt work and the practical action sequences, I think those are more still impressive today, whereas the CGI stuff is like, oh, yeah, so all right, so he's an amorphous blob. I gotcha.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's
just me.
That movie was 20 minutes longer. It was cut to 2 hours and 17 minutes or whatever. But the extended Laserdisc cut, like one of the more practical scenes, is when Sarah Connor is working on Schwarzenegger's wounds, and Linda Hamilton has a twin sister, an identical twin sister. I don't know if you remember this from the featurette.
Yeah, of course I remember that.
Yeah, well, James Cameron...
That's how they do the whole end scene.
That is how they do the whole end scene. James Cameron had her sister on the other side of what was supposed to look like a mirror, and they were just doing the exact same thing at the same time. And it was pretty... That's a pretty cool scene. I mean, once you know that it's a twin, it's like you could see all the mistakes, but it's still neat.
You know, that's like back when James Cameron was a good filmmaker.
Yeah.
Remember that?
What happened?
Remember those days?
Yeah, the last film that he did that I really enjoyed was True Lies.
Wow. I mean,
that was in 94? I think that was 94.
I gotta look at... I mean, you know what? Like, True Lies is still a guilty pleasure for me. I don't like the term guilty pleasure, but honestly, True Lies is like, I shouldn't like this.
Yeah.
I really shouldn't like this, but I do. No, Strange Days was after that. I like Strange Days.
But he only... he didn't direct Strange Days.
That was a story. That was a screenplay.
He wrote Strange Days for his then wife, Deborah Bigelow.
Right. No, you're right. True Lies was the last good film he directed.
Yeah, because then he did Titanic and literally never had to work again, and decided to make Avatar, where now he really never has to work again. And that's why it's taking him like a fucking decade between movies.
I don't know. Man, the Titanic episode was fun.
That was a long time ago.
I need to give you the rip tracks.
Episode 70, 69, something like that.
Hey, I'm going to America.
America! Fuck you.
The rip tracks of that is hilarious. I can't watch that without the rip tracks at this point.
Oh, yeah?
I got to get that to you. It's one of the better ones.
Okay.
I mean, it's just...
I should just get the riff track and just sandwich it onto my my movie.
Mm-hmm.
I could do that.
That's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's definitely worth it.
Oh, so yeah, my leg hurts. So.
Well, that's what you get for talking so long about Wargames.
Yeah, it's time. I wanted to keep this to an hour. Last 2 weeks, I'm like, yeah, I got an excuse of why I can keep this to an hour, and just not good at doing it.
It's physically impossible, sir. You know it.
It is impossible.
All right. Well, I'll let you go, and we'll let our listeners go. And next week, unless something weird happens, you know what? I'm going to say right now, there's a 20% chance I might not be available to record next week.
What's next week? Next week is the 10th.
Yeah.
I'm available. I'm available.
My new job, it's like there's like a 20% chance they may ask me to work a couple of nights.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not saying no because I love this job.
There you go.
So we'll know in advance. And I know I haven't posted anything on the Facebook page. The last month's been weird, so really the podcast has been the only thing out there. But I'm just throwing that out there now. So if you're listening, there might be another week delay, but that's iffy.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't think it matters. I probably shouldn't have even said anything. What the fuck?
No, because no one's going to know.
Exactly.
All right. As always, thank you for joining us here at Moviesucktastic. Episode 251. Go to our website at moviesucktastic.com, which shit,
Or we'll kill you.
I have to renew our URL from moviesucktastic.com. It expires tomorrow.
Oh, get on that.
It expires at midnight.
You wait till the last minute?
Yeah, they gotta want me. No, they'll fucking cancel us in a heartbeat. Yeah, the other two URLs I did, the best worst movies and best bad movies, I wasn't seeing any forwards or hits coming from those, and it's like it came time to renew them. I'm like, I'm not gonna spend like $50 to renew this shit. I like the URLs. It's one of those like two URLs. It's like, oh, maybe someone will come to us and want to buy them off of us. But you know what? If no one's gotten them by now, I don't think anyone's gonna. Whatever. Anyway, so go to moviesucktastic.com, download the show there. You can listen to the show right on the website, or you can tune in every Thursday at 8 o'clock live with us and review and hear us talk about the film live every Thursday. You can go to iTunes and you can download the show or listen to the show there. You can leave us email at themovieguys@moviesucktastic.com. If you want to leave us voicemail, it's 908-514-4470. You can go to our Tumblr page at moviesucktastic.tumblr.com, and you can get the Android app that has everything I just mentioned in it, and it's 100% free. Highly recommend it. Everybody should have it. It's so easy. You just hit the button, you can go to feeds, and then boom, there's all of our podcasts, and you could just listen to them right on your phone.
That's how Holly listens to it to and from work every day.
Yep. So, best way to do it.
Yep.
And that's about it. Do you have any words of wisdom, Mr. Wilson?
I don't have to take that from you, you pig-eyed sack of shit.
Yeah, I'd expect a little better from you, being such a educated man as yourself.
Touché.
Touché. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, damn, Nicole was fucking her.
Totally fucking her. She's willing to chew that gum. She's willing to chew something else.
She was...
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of blowing bubbles.
Yum.
I got your Wargames right here.